Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from Hong Kong at SmartCon 2024 by Chainlink. Joining me for the segment, we have Matt Pearring, Director of Product at Offchain Labs. We're here to discuss what the world would look like if we're able to fully harness what Ethereum is capable of. Matt, it's great to have you on Trade Talks. Welcome to the show. Before we get into how the world changes when we fully execute on Ethereum, tell us about Offchain Labs and what Arbitrum is.
Sure, yeah. So Offchain Labs is a research and development company focused on scaling Ethereum or scaling blockchain generally. We were actually one of the first developers of the Arbitrum protocol, the leading layer 2 roll-up on Ethereum. And so we focus on basically making sure that decentralized blockchain technology can make its way to the masses, make it easy to use, and care a lot about that.
So you were at Google before working at Offchain Labs. I always like to get everyone's background because it's so interesting how you finally converge and end up in the blockchain space. What first drew you to wanting to work in the blockchain industry?
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of a weird story. I'm originally from the big island of Hawaii. I care a lot about community. Grew up thinking about how to make things more fair, and so I got really lucky, got a great job at Google, fantastic experience, learned a lot about different developer technologies, how we can help people at scale, and as I learned different things going on in the world, particularly looking at artificial intelligence and machine learning, I thought about how can we make sure that there's equal access to this technology, equal access to financial opportunity, and that's what inevitably brought me into blockchain. And so, it was actually got connected with developer communities that were using some of the products I was working on at Google, and learned how there's a lot of really interesting innovation happening in the space, and wanted to go deeper.
What are some of the latest innovations that you've seen on Arbitrum?
Arbitrum today, I think there's probably two main areas. The protocol itself is rapidly developing. I think there's two really exciting things. One is the permissionless challenge protocol. To think about it at a high level, right now when blocks are being made, when the blockchain is producing a new state, you want to be able to defend that, validate that, prove that it's actually telling the truth. And it's about to roll out an upgrade that is focused on making sure that anybody can participate in that validation process, which is really core to the kind of premise of what blockchain is.
Right.
So that's really interesting. There's a new challenge protocol called Bold. You can learn more about it online. I think the second thing that's really, really exciting is a technology called Stylus. This is actually live on Arbitrum today. It's a protocol upgrade that allows developers from all around the world that use programming languages based on something called WASM. So these are languages you've probably heard of before: Rust, Go, C, C++. This is a technology that allows them to take those languages and build contracts and deploy them on Arbitrum, which is an EVM network. So basically, take these programs that were in the EVM, really only things you'd see on Ethereum, and now allow developers from the rest of the world to deploy contracts that can work together with that. So it's really a really interesting bridge, and we're seeing teams do really cool things with that already.
So what's the partnership with Chainlink and Arbitrum? How does that play into it?
Yeah, so Chainlink's been a really great supporter of the Arbitrum ecosystem since the very beginning. I think there's probably three main areas that they focused on. One is obviously price feeds, general oracles. On-chain apps need access to off-chain data, and Chainlink is obviously a market leader in that. They also have a product called VRF, which supplies on-chain randomness to apps, so games really care about having access to this. And then a new development on there, and that I think they've been talking a lot about, is something called CCIP, or the Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol. This is something that as blockchains scale, there needs to be a way for them to talk to each other safely, securely, and in a flexible manner, and that's something that they support on Arbitrum today.
I mean, that's basically the ethos of it, right? Like, why create more silos? Leveraging newer types of technology. I mean, being able to interoperate is the whole point.
Exactly, yeah.
What does the world look like if you were to fully harness everything that Ethereum has to offer, or it's capable of?
Sure. I think in my mind, and this is just one opinion of many, right now I think in the world there's kind of a default assumption that more is better. From money to resources but particularly individual ownership of power and wealth. And Ethereum at its core is about ensuring that when we make more, everybody gets a bigger share of that pie. And so fundamentally, if we can move more technology onto blockchains and allow people to participate in those protocols, everyone's going to have essentially a larger share of access to the same pool of resources that is currently limited to a smaller group of individuals.
Okay, so here's an interesting question. Then you came from Google, right?
Yeah.
One of the largest Web 2 intermediaries.
Yeah.
How do you see something like a Google or Microsoft or an Apple, these massive intermediary platforms, do you think they will be engaging with this type of technology or integrating it? I just can't imagine them completely not participating.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all of the large cloud providers, or at least the departments of those technologies that focus on cloud computing are massive supporters, actually, of blockchain. I mean, and in a way, blockchain companies and node operators are one of the largest clients for them. So from a business relationship standpoint, they do have a strong vested interest in the technology scaling, but I think long term, they will participate in a meaningful way. It just remains to be seen how comfortable they are in the current regulatory landscape. I think a big area for disruption is the ads network, the ads marketplace, right? Allowing people to have maybe more control of their data and actually directly interact with the ads marketplace to make sure that they can get a share of the revenue that goes to these companies today directly.
All right, appreciate the insight, Matt. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining me from SmartCon. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.